Typically, every species has a single one unique feature, and more rarely there's two or more such features. But weaver ants have so many amazing aspects of their life that sometimes they seem to be on a whole different level compared to other ants. For instance, they have green queens. They construct their nests from their own silk. They exhibit extremely complicated communication system and unique hunting strategy. In this video I will tell you about weaver ants and how to keep them at home. The ants got their name after their unique ability to produce silk. They use it to construct their nests. Silk is produced by their larvae, which lost cocoons in course of evolution to provide entire colony with a better nest. In order to make a wall from a silk, ant grabs the larvae, slightly touches its head by antennae, and moves it from side to side. In nature, weaver ants spend the majority of their time on trees and construct their nests from leaves. To do it, they stitch leaves by silk. Another unique feature of this species is the structure of ants themselves. They are quite skinny, what requires less resources for the development of larvae. But in spite of it, they are very endurant and strong and can easily hold things much heavier than themselves. Also, they are very tenacious due to little cushions on tips of their legs. The species is polymorphic. A vast majority of colony consists of large regular workers, whose job is foraging for food, building nests and defending territory. But there is also 2 to 3% of tiny ones, only 3 mm in length. They are responsible for things like brood and queen care. As I mentioned before, queen is very unusual as well. She has a very beautiful green coloration. However, occasionally you can find orange queens as well. Her only job is laying eggs, but despite this fact, this one is quite active. Another unique feature of the ants is their communication system. It's very versatile, but for instance you can clearly observe it in their foraging behavior. When some skulls have found food, they initially taste it and then put down their abdomens and return to the nest, making a pheromone pathway to the food source. In the nest they recruit other workers by touching them by antennae. Eventually they follow the pathway and get to the food, and soon a lot of ants are swarming around the food. Another feature of weaver ants is their excellent vision. A majority of ant species can barely see what is in front of them, and mostly use their vision to determine surrounding brightness. But these little guys can easily spot you from 2 meters away. It always looks very fun when they immediately raise their heads with opened mandibles and track each movement slowly moving towards you. This behavior shows that they are very aggressive. It's because their main food strategy is maintaining constant territory and patrolling it. At night they are quite active as well. Hunt begins when foragers spot another insects on their territory. Their main hunting strategy is to grab prey from different sides and pull it in opposite directions. Thus they safely keep it in place. And then they wait until the prey doesn't move anymore. However, occasionally they can use formic acid as well. When the prey is done, they proceed to transport it to the nest. There it will be processed and eaten by hungry larvae and workers. But let's give them something a bit bigger. A large mealworm. Foragers immediately started to attack it. However, mealworm is a powerful and well-armored insect. To keep it in place, some workers formed a chain of themselves. Meanwhile, scouts are already making the pheromone pathways to the nest and soon returning with the help. and soon they see plenty of hunters swarming around the mealworm. But even now they can't do much to it due to its heavy armor. All what they can do is to grab the mealworm by its legs and try to lock it in place. And luckily after some time the mealworm is done. But so big insects can be dangerous for ants, and it's better to feed them by smaller ones. Now I will tell you the story of this colony and give you some useful tips of how to keep the species at home. But, although I've kept these ants for almost a half of a year, I still think that this is one of the most challenging ant species to keep at home. When colony had arrived, I made a simple taps and tubes setup from plastic container for them, and attached a test tube with the ants to it. But after a couple of days I moved them to a bigger setup where they still live. And almost immediately I noticed one strange thing. From time to time the ants leaked the test tube. Initially I thought that they are just trying to keep it clean, as all ants do with their nests, and with themselves as well. But at closer look it turns out that they actually leaked condensation from walls of the test tube. Thus they probably didn't get enough water, and I decided to give them proper water source, a water feeder. And they definitely appreciated it. But one day I noticed that some ants and pupa were dying, and I decided to move the colony to a larger test tube. I directly attached it to the old one by some cotton, and placed the new one on a heating mat. But after initial interest they completely refused to move, and for the next several weeks they were living in the old test tube. However, their appetite was quite good, and they continued to drink honey and hunt on a prey. But eventually I forced them to move into the new test tube. And it definitely was the right decision. After moving, the ants immediately started to construct their own nest from silk. They made some silky walls near the entrance, and a small chamber right above the heating mat. In this chamber they stored all the brood. Here you can see a slow pulsation inside the larva. Also, appetite of the colony had increased, and the ants started to consume more food, and therefore forage more actively. I feed them by various small worms and the fresh honey, which they always drink very slowly. After the moving, quantity of brood started to increase as well, and soon a lot of young workers had emerged, which you can easily recognize by a much brighter color. Now the colony is doing really well. After the moving, number of ants increased significantly in a very short period. And the appetite of the colony increased as well. Also, they made some additional walls inside the nest. Hopefully they will continue to grow, and I eventually move them into a new setup or even natural terrarium. So guys, stay tuned to not miss the next video about the ants. And also, if you appreciated this one, please put a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And bye for now.